Hello and welcome to the Sunday Million Highlight Show, a very special edition of the show because it's the Sunday Million 7th anniversary. 7 years of massive prize pools every Sunday night, and it's been our pleasure to bring you highlights of many of them. This one took place on the 3rd of March 2013. Look at that ginormous field, 49,287 runners, all paying $215, generating a smidge under 10 million. Amazing tournament, amazing celebration of the Sunday Million. We do bring out the big guns every time we have a birthday. My head tells the story of the birthday party. It was a blinder. It really was wild. All right, there was no party, but there was a poker party. I'm sure you were either playing this event or trying to get into this event at the last minute, or maybe even railing a friend or something in this event. Lots of other things might have happened on Sunday night, but in the poker world, this was where it was at, and these lucky, skilled 9 players are going to fight out a huge prize, $1.242 million up top for the winner. From a $215 buy-in is just a little bit silly, isn't it? A real mix of players at this final table as well, some playing by far their biggest final table, all playing by far their biggest final table, in terms of prize money, I suspect. But in terms of scale of the event, a couple of players used to this kind of thing, a lot of players experiencing it for the first time. And I think you could imagine if you were here, your fingers might get a little bit sweaty over the old mouse button. Not easy to make good poker decisions with this much money at stake. They've all got $62,000 locked up, and then the money jumps really start to kick in. Some poker action then. This is the very first hand of this big final table. And Rugra, 3-4-3, is opening from the cutoff with the computer hand, Queen 7 suited, so named because a computer once said it's rubbish. Very playable in the cutoff, and even more playable when you flop a flush draw. A fun flop, bit of a cooler for our first bit of action. Beneslovas with the top pair against that flush draw. A little bit of money behind, though, these two, as you can see. Many times I've had 138 million chips while playing poker. I admit that I just get my chips out and write $1 million on the values, and that's how I do that, but pretty ridiculous stacks, and looks like a decent amount of them's going to go in. I mean, we are playing first and second in chip counts here, so there's got to be some kind of pot control at some point, you'd have thought. 34 million in the middle, as several players at this final table have less than that in their stacks, but these two still have plenty behind. Sort of semi-ridiculous cooler on the first go-around here to get this flop, these two hands, with the 2 top chip counts. Not a big bet by Beneslovas on the turn. Does give Rugra options here, and he was pretty much getting explicit odds to call and try and bink that flush. It doesn't come. And what a big pot for our first pot. 58 million in the middle. Beneslovas will check. And Rugra's in that spot where he knows a check's not going to win him the pot. But he must be questioning, having been check raised on the flop, whether a bluff is going to get it through or not. He decides not to make a move, and Beneslovas from Lithuania has the ever-growing chip lead. Monster stack, 170 million plus. And there's a lot of chips. Just in case you weren't sure, I can confirm there's a lot of chips. 1 million, 2 million blinds we're playing, which means that we do have a few short stacks. 4 players in the 20-something million range, the 10 to 15 big blind range. And 2 of them get out the way. I can tell you, Beneslovas, who is the monster chip leader here, on line for potentially a 7-figure score, his largest recorded cash on stars before this was $1,200. Poker tournaments are amazing, aren't they? Especially unique events like this. He's got $62,000 locked up and a favourite to win much more. What a day for him, whatever happens now. But he'll be trying to take it down, of course. Ruger 3-4-3, not slowing down, and why should he? Folded to him with a pocket pair, and he will double the big blind. And Benislovas looks interested here, and he will make the 3-bet. So these two going at it once more. How does Ruger want to play this? 6 million to call, and he will make the call. Does have position, but there's a lot of money in this pot already. And, well, that's not the flop the two black twos were looking for, I think it's fair to say. Oh, and Benislovas is going to look a little bit tricky here. Decides to check over top pair. Ruger is not biting, though. And he checks it back. Jack on the turn. As you can see, Benislovas with 2 pair. But in some ways, this has got unnecessarily complicated. I bet would have taken it down on the flop. Check, it goes on the turn. Is Benislovas going to try for any sort of value? No, he's not. He's going to try and get Ruger to bet at this. Can't imagine he's going to fold, even though that is a ridiculously scary board. Really small bet from Ruger. And it does get a call. It'd be interesting to see if he'd have bluffed a bit bigger, whether Benislovas could have made that call quite as quickly. I don't think he was going anywhere, but I guess we'll never know. Extending his chip lead, the Lithuanian on top of the standings. Amazing stuff. Almost up to 200 million, and he would cross that barrier over the next few hands. Hemmensley, the short stack now. 3 UK players, which is exciting. But none of them in that commanding chip position. You don't see a lot of 200 million chip counts in the online poker world. But there's one in the small blind right now. Must be tough to... well, most of us will never know what it's like to be in this situation. It must be tough to keep calm, though. Having one of the biggest online tournaments of the year pretty much strangled at the moment. A lot can change, of course. A lot of poker still to be played. It'll be interesting to see if we see any really tight plays or any kind of what look like fearful plays. I think you could absolutely understand if we do. The money jumps are huge. And for a lot of these players, way, way in excess of what they've played for before. Norflip has kind of come close to tasting this level of glory before. He actually finished 25th in the 6th anniversary tournament last year. Pretty impressive to put a run together in both events, because similarly humongous field in the 6th anniversary. And he's got a little bit further. Saves his best for birthdays. Specifically the Sunday Million birthday. I mean, maybe he's good on other birthdays. I have no clue. Norflip makes this call. Hemmensley, the short stack, is all in. He's found a good spot to get all in as well. The dominating ace, but it doesn't look like it's going to hold. Bingo flop for Norflip. And he'll lock it up with the nut flush on the turn. Why not do it in style? Hemmensley, bad beated out of this one. However, he was the short stack. And he is the first to leave us. The British player, after an amazing run through this tournament, true of every player here, banked $62,000 for his $215 buy-in. Tournament poker's weird, isn't it? He would have taken that, bitten your hand, arm, and I suspect torso off if you'd offered it to him just a few hours earlier. But now he'll be gutted that he's gone out. It's like they say, everyone but the winner is disappointed to get knocked out of a poker tournament. Doesn't matter what the payout is. 1.5 and 3 million blinds, hand 25. Quick scan around the table. 3 players around about the 10 big blind level. One of them is Pelompagus from Cyprus. I believe a Pelompagus was actually a small, cuddly, pink creature from children's stories. He used to sneak up on children and give them a lovely cuddle. I think that's right. Can't remember my Cypriot children's tales that well, but I'm pretty sure. Pelompagus with the king queen. Thinking about what to do. This is a layout. You see, he folds, and that's a really good example, I think, of being affected by the money jumps. And it's hard to blame him because he knows there are other players with around about 10 big blind stacks, and you're talking about bankroll defining money jumps at every turn. Less fear when you've got two aces, of course. Khazra 84 opens it up and prays for action. He's going to get some. Ruger 343 has had some reversals early on in this final table, but still wanting to stay active. We can see he doesn't want to hit his hand here, but he has. Fool's flop type deal for Ruger. Unfortunate. He makes top pair. He can't possibly know he's barbecued here. It's a sturdy continuation bet from Khazra. Ruger will make the call, tiptoeing towards oblivion here, I'm afraid. 41 million in the pot. Well, will that queen give Ruger, the Russian player, any kind of hesitation? Khazra will shove. Ruger with the decision. These players with very similar chip counts. This is going to be for almost all Ruger's chips, and he manages to get away from it. So, combination of the confidence of Khazra's bets and his bet sizing, and that queen on the turn. And Ruger lives to fight another day. He'll actually enjoy watching that fold back on this show, because he did slip the noose on that one. Khazra 84 up to over 90 million after that hand. This is hand 32. And Benislovas, still our big chip leader, is going to open the ace-9 offsuit. And you'd have thought, with the money jumps the way they are, he can open an awful lot of hands, because it's just really tough for the shorter stacks to shove on him, isn't it? Everyone folds around to Khazra 84, who also gets out the way. And decision on Ruger 343, and he will call. So just not tightening up at all, despite really not having things go his way at this final table. Well, maybe this is going to turn it round. He does outflop Benislovas. Middle pair gives him the best hand. Benislovas will just set him all in. Oh, to have a ridiculously large chip stack at a final table with huge money jumps and be able to put the pressure on like that. Ruger flops his hand and still can't put money in the middle, being asked to not only play for 20 million chips, but thousands of dollars, and Benislovas gets one through. He really can bring huge pressure to bear on these players if he wants to. 2 million, 4 million blinds, the price of poker has gone up. And you can see how the players are hanging on to try and ladder up what were 10 to 15 big blind stacks after a couple of orbits of not doing very much, are now 5, 6, 7 big blind stacks. 4 short stacks here. And just to remind you, completely understandable, the difference between 8th and 7th is, well, just over $30,000. Ruger is going to hope that he either doubles here or he'll happily accept the blinds and antes. Benislovas isn't going to let him, though. His nemesis looks like he's going to dance with him one more time and maybe eliminate him from this tournament. King Queen, the underdog here, and it belongs to Ruger 343, who's the all-in player. Needs some help, and there's some help. King on the flop is really sweet for him. 8's absolutely fine, just needs to avoid an ace or a 9, and he doubles. And he can't get it done. Ace on the river is a cruel blow, and Ruger 343 hits the rail, leaving us 7-handed in the 7th anniversary Sunday Million. Now, we'd like to give you a shot at a free seat in the Sunday Million, because we're nice. If you'd like to play, just hit the Tourney free roll tab, find the online poker show free roll, and I'll give you a password later in the show.
competition everywhere. We are poker.
Welcome back to a very special Sunday Million final table. Bigger field, bigger prize pool, huge prize money, $1.2 million for first up for grabs. And these 7 players fighting it out for a huge chunk of change. All of them in with a shot, but it's Benes Lovas that leads the way. And not only has the big stack, but seems to be not afraid to use it and understanding how to put pressure on his opponents. It's going to be tough to stop him winning this one, but there's still a long way to go. I can tell you, unsurprisingly, there was discussion of a deal pretty early on in this final table. 2 outs for Cake, particularly really looking to make a deal pretty constantly. And you can kind of forgive him with so much money potentially on the turn of a card. But no deal yet. I'll let you know if there is one. Don't want to tell you everything up front. That's just opening the kimono. No need to do that. Sexy G has opened this pot. Norflip has raised him, and Sexy G is going to have to go with it. 9-7 offsuit. It's not what you want, but he'll be relieved to see Ace King. Even more relieved to see that 7 on the flop. And the 9 is pretty sweet as well. No hearts in either player's hand. So Sexy G is going to upset the odds here. Tried to steal the blinds and antes. It was never folding that hand. Made a nice little raise to try and make his hand look stronger than it was. But ran into a big hand. And gets that little bit of luck. Sexy G, a really experienced tournament player. David Gent is a scoop high champion. He has more than 700,000 in MTT earnings on Stars. So the most experienced player at this final table, and probably not the one that everyone else will want to collect some chips, but he's really grabbed a lifeline in this tournament with that double up. Potential double ups all over the place. 2 outs for Cake, has shoved from the button. Needs to make something happen as one of the short stacks. He's going to get called pretty quickly here by Kazra84, and he's going to be in danger. The UK player looking for a jack or a 10, doesn't get it. Kazra84 makes top pair. A king needed now. Or 2 outs for Cake, who actually has 4 outs for Biscuits. No, it's the 8 of diamonds. 2 outs for Cake hits the rail. The deal he was looking for doesn't materialise. However, how about this for a deal? You pay $215, and then a few hours later you walk away with $117,000 and change. That's pretty sweet, right? 2 outs for Cake takes home that amount of money and leaves us 6-handed in the 7th anniversary edition of the Sunday Million. And the short stacks can wait no longer here. That's what's happened this level. Stradale from Austria, his turn to shove. And unfortunately for him, Kazra is picking up hands. This one, a really big one. 2 red kings. Sexy G folds the case king. Stradale 430 in horrible shape here. King Jack offsuit versus 2 kings is not what you want for your tournament. And almost hopeless, and now officially hopeless. Good stuff by Kazra84. You got to know when to find the kings and put your money in. And he's up into a really solid second place. Stradale 430 after a great run through the tournament. Has to be content with 6th. $181,000 for 6th place. Amazing stuff. The money jumps just get bigger and bigger now. 5th place is good for $254,000. $250,000 locked up for these 5 players. Palompagus, it's just such a brilliant name, is all in. He's managed to ladder up. One of the short stacks was going to do this, hang around and get up a few spaces. The adventure may be coming to an end now for the Cypriot player. In trouble against Sexy G's Ace-Queen. And needing some help to stay in this final table. Well, there is some help, but not enough because Sexy G gets more. Aces beats 10s every time in this game. Needs some help on the river. And the help goes the other way. Sexy G with trip aces knocks out Palompagus. He takes home $254,000. Amazing stuff. Some quick eliminations there. It leaves us 4-handed. These players all with $350,000 plus locked up. Quite extraordinary sums of money. And there's now some poker to be played. Norflip, the short stack. But as you can see, he's been dealt a big hand here. So maybe he'll get back into this and we'll have some solid four-way action. We will see. He makes the easy shove. It's really not too much money, is it? 6.5 big blinds. And Qatar, although he doesn't have the greatest hand in the world, I think he's going to have to call this. Yep, in goes the money. Norflip the favourite, but Norflip is the all-in player. And 7's on the flop to beat ace-king, especially if helped by Norflip, has been the way it goes. He's lost a couple of these, it looks like, and that's what's going to do for him. Unless he can catch the river, 8 of hearts is no good. Good for Qatar84, though, who closes the gap on the leader. Norflip out in 4th, and we are 3 ways for the Sunday Million 7th anniversary title. Norflip from Norway takes home $358,000 and change. Amazing stuff. 3 players for the money then. And Benis Lovas, who's been the chip leader throughout, finally has someone approaching his chip stack. Qatar at 84, just a little bit behind him. Sexy G not out of this, especially if he can hit flops like that. Those are the cards he was looking for. Top pair and the spade flush. I imagine we'll gratefully shuffle all 80 million into the middle if he gets a chance, but it's actually going to be checked round here. 10 of clubs doesn't change too much. Sexy G still in front. Qatar is going to have a stab at this. Just a flat call from Sexy G. Benis Lovas with not much. Doesn't want to get too frisky here and gets out of the way. So 2 pairs left for the river. Sexy G makes trips on the river. And we'll hope that Qatar fires again. He doesn't, though. So just a question of how much Sexy G thinks he can get paid. What about all of it? A lot of merit to this bet. He could easily have a busted draw. A lot of busted draws on that board. Hard for him to have a king, even though we can see he does. And maybe Qatar would get curious, but it doesn't happen this time. Sexy G closes the gap, and he continued to do that over the next few hands. And look at these chip stacks. 133 plays 156, plays 195 million. Benis Lovas so long the dominant chip leader. Really is anyone's tournament right now, and this one's fun, isn't it? 3-handed, raise on the button, 3-bet from the small blind, and Qatar just calling from the big blind with ace-queen. Must have been tempted to 4-bet, but decides to wait for the queen to come on the flop, which is definitely a solid alternate strategy. Never works for me, but it's definitely a solid alternate strategy if you can do it. And decides to raise the flop, which is slightly surprising, I think. Because Benis Lovas is an aggressive player, and he may well have got him to keep firing at that one, but Qatar takes it down, and he does claim the chip lead. Hand 66 of what's been a relatively fast final table, considering the stakes that they're playing for. Wouldn't be too surprising if things slow down a little bit now. Although we're not super deep. Sexy G, the short stack, starts this hand with less than 30 big blinds. And it looks like they might be going in here. He 3-bets, gets shoved on by Benis Lovas, and will call. So Sexy G gets his money in a great spot here. Also gives us a fantastic comedy chip stack in the middle of the table. 241 million. Sexy G will be winning it all if his hand holds. He'll be out if it doesn't. Ace 10 is still in front. Some chop pots here as well. Queen on the river means that the Ace 10 plays and Sexy G takes the chip lead. And we're still 3-handed for the Sunday Million 7th anniversary title.
We are 10,000 people in Brazil, holding our breath. We are alone. Hunters. Hunted. We are committed. Blessed. We are poker.
Welcome back to a special edition of the Sunday Million, but one thing that's always certain is we will give you a free roll to win a seat, and your password this week is London. 7th of March 2013 at 3:35 Eastern Standard Time is when that one kicks off. 3 players left for the Sunday Million 7th anniversary title: Benislovas, Sexy G and Kazra 84, and I can tell you that a deal was made between these three after that jousting that we watched. Three-handed, they decided this was all a bit silly for the ludicrous sums of money involved, and that the chop made sense for everybody. $140,000 up for grabs for the winner, and I will confirm the payouts of each of them when they leave. This is a real kind of giant against two Davids. Sexy G, the pro, the scoop high champion with more than $700,000 in tournament earnings. As I told you earlier, Benislovas, his biggest score, $1,200 before this tournament, and Kazra 84 as recently as the morning before this tournament was grinding the $3.50 turbo sit and go. So testament to the fact that the Sunday Million can make your poker dreams come true, especially when there's an enormous prize pool like there was for this event. Back with the action, three-handed. Kazra 84 has top pair. Benislovas has, well, he has a gut shot, backdoor spades, 2 over cards. And sometimes his king high is good, and other times he binks the nuts on the turn, which is always a pleasure. As you can see, Kazra does have him covered, and we'll check back that slightly ugly queen turn from his point of view. 2 of spades is a blank on the river, so time for Benislovas to figure out how much he can get paid, and he's going to go for a really sturdy 40 million chip bet. And Kazra kind of has to call. There are some busted draws from that flop, and his opponent definitely capable of bluffing as well. So Kazra pays off the river bet, and Benislovas back up into second. Hand 92, we're playing 2.5 million, 5 million blinds, which means that Kazra, the short stack, has around about 18 big blinds right now. Doesn't look like he's going to be involved in this one, though. The chip leader and second place will be going at it. Sexy G opens the button, and Benislovas 3 bets in. Very notable that Benislovas has stayed active throughout this final table. Sexy G will make the call and defend here, and both players will miss the flop. So if Benislovas can find a continuation bet, he's going to take this down, but it's not going to happen. He decides to check it. Slightly surprising. Sexy G checks it back as well. Ace high belonging to the Lithuanian. Benislovas still in front. Sexy G from the UK doesn't want to bluff at this. Perhaps a little bit suspicious that Benislovas has 3 bet and now is just checking it down. Oh, he checks for a 3rd time. Will Sexy G now think, well, he doesn't seem to want to put money in the middle here. How good can his hand be? Can I take this one away from him? A little bit under 60 million in the middle, and Sexy G's going to bluff at it. And Benislovas makes the call. So, nice bit of river play from Benislovas. Surprising he didn't bet that flop, but after not betting that flop, check calling that river, induced a bluff from his aggressive opponent. He's obviously been playing with Sexy G for a while now. Figured he could make that one happen. And that gives Benislovas back the chip lead. Really has been up and down final table for him. Well, this could be a decisive pot. Kazra 84 3 bets with the 5s. And I don't think he can go anywhere with that chip stack. Benislovas is going to play here. The money's in the middle. Benislovas still has plenty behind. Kazra 84 all in. This is a flip. A big one for both these players. The 5s hold through the flop. Benislovas can also hit a 10 to win now. And a diamond. So a ton of outs for Benislovas on the river. Kazra 84 sweating the 5s, but they can't hold up against a mountain of outs. And Kazra 84 from Germany, his tournament is over. 3rd spot, an amazing run. $813,000 will make him feel a little bit better about not getting into the top 2 spots. Phenomenal payout for him. But we're heads up right now for the Sunday Million 7th anniversary special title. And these two playing for $140,000 and some decent bragging rights as well. If they ever manage to get through the ludicrous sums of money they're going to be taking home. Benes Lovaas has a pair. Sexy G with the open-ended straight draw. This is hand 107 of the final table. And Sexy G will bet it. Reminding you that this is David Gent, a Scoop High champion, looking to add another prestigious title to his resume. Benes Lovaas, well, this is by far the biggest tournament he's had a big score in. Hasn't shown, though. He stayed very active and aggressive for most of this final table, which is a credit to him. Also showed he could change gears a bit in that previous hand we saw with Sexy G. The Brit bets this king turn. Disappointed not to get a fold. And the King River is an interesting one. Sexy G doesn't make his hand. And knows he's not winning with 5-5. Does he think he can get a fold here? Benes Lovaas has called him down once before, and I think, yeah, was planning to again. Sexy G thinks better of it, checks it back. And this one will slide over to the Lithuanian and put him in a really strong position to win this title. Sexy G nursing the 90 million short stack. But we'll still see a flop here. Benes Lovaas defending the 10-9. An interesting flop, which could see money go in here. Sexy G with the open-ended straight draw and the overcard. Second fair for Benes Lovaas. Check call it goes. 41 million in the middle. 72 million left in Sexy G's stack. 4 of hearts changes nothing. Just reminding you they're playing for $140,000 left after the deal, as well as the title. So this is a pretty big heads-up match in its own right. Sexy G firing away here. And he gets check raised by Benes Lovaas. So really aggressive stuff from the Russian. Sexy G can't really go anywhere. A lot of money in the middle. He has outs to hit, but if he doesn't hit them, this one is over. 10 of hearts means that Benes Lovaas makes trips, but much more than that means that he takes down the Sunday Million 7th anniversary special. What a performance by the Lithuanian. He was the big chip stack for most of that final table. Finally manages to bink the win. He takes home $848,000 and change. A huge payout from a $215 buy-in. Sexy G, David Gent, adds a second place in this big tournament to his Scoop High win and took the most money out of the deal before that first place playoff. $836,000. Amazing prize haul. Congratulations to him and everyone else on the final table. A fantastic tournament to watch and commentate on. I hope you enjoyed it as much as me. There'll be another Sunday Million back to regular but still ginormous size next week. For everyone at PokerStars.tv, I'm Nick Wealthall. Take big care.